Hi, this is David with David's Tutorials, and recently we needed to have a tree taken down out of our front yard. I'll tell you about that in just a second, but before I wanted to hire somebody to take down that tree, or even worse, try to do it myself, I needed to figure out what do I need to know when I'm looking to hire someone to take down a tree. So in today's video, I want to share with you the experience I had hiring somebody to take down a tree in my front yard. This tree had been dropping giant branches in our front yard for probably 2 years. My wife was very skittish. She didn't want this tree to fall on our house, and I had to agree. I didn't want it to fall on our house either. So we called several people who took down trees and had them come out and look at it and give us an estimate. And we selected a man by the name of Jonathan Lee, and I'll tell you about that at the end of this video, why I think that was such a good choice. But we had these people look at the tree, and they noticed that not only were there a lot of dead branches way up high in the air, but there was also at the base of the tree a hole where you could look into the core of the tree and see some rotten wood in there. So it was really kind of a dangerous situation. We've had a tree fall on our house before, and that was not a pleasant experience. So if you have a tree that is not totally healthy, you may want to get someone to look at it and maybe get somebody to take it down. But before you hire somebody to take that tree down, here are some things that you need to know before you hire somebody to take down a tree. This is tree expert Jonathan Lee. He's been in the tree business for 30 years. The guy knows what he's doing. Here's the interview. Okay, I'm David. I'm standing here with Jonathan Lee of Lee's Tree Service. And I want to ask Jonathan what it is that you think a person looking to hire a tree taker downer should ask. But before I get into that, I want to tell everybody I've just had Jonathan take down 2 trees in my yard, and he has just done a magnificent job. I'll give you his phone number at the end, so if you live in the area of central Mississippi, you can call him. Now, Jonathan, what is it that people need to look for when they're looking for somebody to take down trees in their yard?
The first thing is insurance. Make sure you find somebody that has proof of insurance.
Proof of insurance.
Anything can go wrong at any point. So insurance is the main thing.
Okay.
And you want to shop around. You don't want to go for the first cheapest person you find. It's always best to find somebody that has already had tree work done. You can ask them and get their opinion on it too.
That's a good point. What about equipment? What sort of equipment should a tree person have?
Make sure they have a way to get the stuff out once they cut it down. That way they're not sitting there waiting on somebody to come by and pick their stuff up. Make sure they have well-maintained equipment.
Well-maintained. How would a person checking out people know if their equipment was well-maintained?
If pull up to the job and they get ready to start and they immediately have to start working on everything. That tells you they're not maintaining their equipment, so are they really going to do a good job?
All right. Now, I notice you have not just a little cherry picker. That's a giant cherry picker. That thing would go up, what, 60, 70 feet in the air, won't it?
60 foot.
60 feet. Wow. But I guess you really need to have that. And one of the things I noticed as you were taking the trees down, you didn't just cut something off and let it plummet to the ground and dig a great big old crater in my yard.
We rope everything down.
You rope it down.
We tie a rope to it. My guy on the ground, when I cut the limb, I communicate with him, and we ease the limb down and lay them all down on the ground. We don't just drop everything on the ground. But then you make big pivots and holes, and unless you go buy topsoil to fill those holes in, then you're going to be left with holes in the yard. And if the homeowner is walking around and steps in one of those holes, it makes a hazard.
Yeah, that could be a definite safety hazard. And I noticed that you let even the huge heavy chunks, you let those things down very gently. And my yard right now, that when you're done, it looks pretty smooth. As a matter of fact, where you ground down the stump there's this mound of mulch that it looks like it's going to settle down and be just perfectly level.
Yeah, it'll have to go through a heating process. And once the weather rains on it and everything settles, and it'll pack back down. And it'll take a few months and it's ready for grass. There's nothing a homeowner should have to do.
Now, another thing I noticed, you have this piece of equipment, a Bobcat front loader.
Yes.
And that thing didn't seem to have any problem at all picking out these huge chunks of tree trunk. Those things must have weighed a ton.
Some of them, depending on the size, like this one here, a 6-foot piece of red oak can weigh between 1,300 and 1,800 pounds.
Oh, that'd be more than I would want to carry. For sure. And I notice you also have a pickup truck with a 5th wheel trailer on the end of it for carrying all of the stuff that you take out of the yard to wherever it is you take it.
Yeah, that's a dump trailer. We put everything in it and we just go to the dump and let them deal with it.
So somebody looking to hire somebody to take down a tree in their yard, they should have a large cherry picker. They should be the kind of person who would rope the segments down as they cut them off. They should have the Bobcat front loader to move them around, and then a trailer to haul it off with.
Yes.
Well, that sounded really good.
If you call somebody out and they give you an estimate on it, and it sounds like they're just trying to make you do it, that's not the person you need to go with. You need to go with somebody that'll talk with you and communicate with you.
I agree with that.
Communication on everything is key. That's the main point of all of it. If you feel like you can connect with somebody on doing the job, and feel comfortable with them, then that's the one you can go with, as long as they have all the right equipment to get the tree down, done, and out.
That makes a lot of sense. And one thing you mentioned here just a second ago, don't go with the cheapest person. Something I have found over the years is the people who give you the cheapest bid are the penny pinchers.
Yeah.
And while you are not the cheapest person, I got very good reports on you from somebody else who had used your services, and I decided to trust them, and we got a bid from you. We did get bids from other people, and you weren't the cheapest. But I have been tremendously pleased with your work. Whenever we talk about doing this and doing that, you were not the kind of person to nitpick and want to say, oh, that's going to cost this much extra, that's going to cost. I actually feel kind of guilty not being able to pay you for some of the extra stuff you've done.
When I do a bid, I figure in everything, how long it'll take to get the tree down, and try to do it to where I give the best price I can and do the best work I can.
That's a great way to do business. I wish more businesses would operate that way.
Well, I appreciate it.
One of the reasons that I like shopping on Amazon is that I saw an interview on 60 Minutes with Jeff Bezos, their CEO, the guy that founded the business. And the interviewer on 60 Minutes said, haven't you had analyses done on your prices? Oh yeah, we've had dozens of them, and they all say we need to raise our prices. And the interviewer said, well, why don't you? He says, we don't need to. And that's the kind of business that I wish more people would do. Make enough money that you're happy making what you need to make to stay in business.
That's all I want to do, is make enough to keep going and keep all my equipment maintained. I'm not in it to try to get rich. I'm in it to help the homeowners.
That's what makes a society. A vibrant and thriving society is when you're looking out for other people more than you're looking out for yourself.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
And we're going to put this up on YouTube and let everybody in the world see it. And there may be some people in this area. I'm going to put your phone number up there. Maybe you'll get some business from it. Maybe you'll just get some people who said, I needed to know that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this video helps out somebody who doesn't know what to look for. Maybe to give them a little ease of mind on finding somebody to cut a tree.
Absolutely. Excellent. Pretty interesting, isn't it? I learned a lot from talking with Jonathan Lee. But more than that, let me share with you who it is I like to do business with. I like to do business with somebody who is not out to milk me for every penny they can get out of me. I like to do business with somebody, they may give me a higher quote and I'll willingly pay it, because these are the kind of people that don't nickel and dime you. Now, Jonathan Lee, I talked to him as they were getting near the end of the job, and I asked them, do you know somebody who is a good yard person that can come in and regrade the yard and put in some sod? And he said, oh, don't worry about that. We're going to take care of all that for you. What I do is I just take this 3/4 inch plywood and I lay it out in the yard and I drive my truck over it, and that just mashes it all flat and smooth and just makes your yard perfectly smooth. And I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty good, and that's all included in the price. And to get to my backyard, because we had him take down 2 trees, an oak tree, a red oak in the front yard, and it was a sweet gum in the backyard. Now the backyard is enclosed by a fence, so he had to take out a big section of the fence so he could get his trucks back in there to lift up the cherry picker and to get in the front loader and to get in the stump grinder and all that, to do all the things he had to do to take out the tree. Well, when he took out the sections of the fence is kind of old, it's like 15 years old. One of the fence posts just kind of broke off right at ground level. He and his helpers went in there and they dug out the concrete stump of that post. They replaced the post. They did not charge me any extra for that. This is just all part of their service. And one more thing he did was he noticed some of the other trees in my front yard had some big dead limbs way up high. He just put his cherry picker under there, went up top to those trees, and he cut down those dead limbs. No extra charge. When he told me he did that, I said, well, let me know. I'll be happy to pay you more for doing it because that was a good thing that needed to be doing. He said, no problem. Don't worry about it. So this is the kind of person I need to do business with. So when I'm looking for somebody with whom I want to do business, the first thing I'm looking for is good, strong, ethical business practices. The second thing I'm looking for is the quality of work that they do. If someone's ethical, they're not going to charge you for work they don't do. If someone is ethical, they're not going to want to nickel and dime you for every little thing you want extra done. They're going to say, oh, well, that's going to cost you an extra $200. They will build all this stuff into the initial price. And sometimes if you want to ask something that's far outside the scope of the initial request, yeah, that would definitely be an extra charge, and I don't mind paying that. Now, this is the right kind of business that I like to do business with. Somebody that doesn't look to milk their customers for every penny they can get. I believe it was Henry Ford that said this, but I've tried to look it up and I cannot find it online, believe it or not. The vast internet doesn't have this information that I could find. He said the key to success in any business is not to get every dollar you can out of your customer. It is to see how much can you give your customer for his dollar. That's the right kind of business. That's what I do in my web design business. That's what I do in my music writing business. That's what I have done all my life, and I believe it's the right way to operate. If you have some comments on this, leave them in the comment section down below. If you have some thoughts on this, leave them in the comment section down below. But that's all we have for this video. Sorry it's gone so long, but hey, there's some opinion going on in here, and you can share your opinion as much as you like in the comment section. So if you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and click that subscribe button and then the bell icon to be notified whenever we post another great tutorial right here on David's Tutorials.